Hey gamers, this is Liz Davidson from Beyond Solitaire, and today I want to talk to you about Limes, a very simple beat-your-own-score tile-laying game that is a lot of fun solo. In a two-player game of Limes, there will be two decks of cards, one that is shuffled and one that is not. The reason for this is that both players are meant to play with the same set of cards so that the person who maximizes their resources the best is the one who's going to get the best score. So in a two-player game, for example, I would draw this card. It's 3. Then the other player would find 3 in their deck and play it. The good news about a single-player game, however, is that you don't have to worry about any of that. You can just shuffle one deck and play with it. The only other thing you need to play is 7 meeples and a flat surface to lay everything on. The placement of these meeples, much as in Carcassonne, is going to determine my scoring at the end of the game. In Limes, each card is going to be divided into 4 zones, and each of those zones can represent one of 4 different types of territory. Those types are fields, water, forest, and basically guard towers. You can score for different types of territory depending on where you put your meeples. For example, let's say that I have a meeple on this field. That means that his job is currently the job of a farmer, and if this were the end of the game, which it isn't, he would score for each of the fields that is in his territory. So in this case, this meeple is worth 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. A meeple that is placed on water is called a fisherman, and the way that he scores is he gets 1 point for each of the little fishermen's huts that is touching the water that comprises his territory. So in this case, this is all connected water, so he will score 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points for his water territory at this point. This hut would not score because it is touching water that is not part of his connected territory. A woodcutter, who's a meeple placed in the forest, is going to score 1 point for each separate territory that is touching his forest and is vertically or horizontally adjacent. So this would be one territory, 1 point. Another territory, 1 point. Guard towers are always considered their own separate territory, so this would be 1 point. And then this field is another point. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Meeples that are placed in the watchtowers, watchmen, score differently. The way that they score is that they get points for each forest territory that they are able to see either horizontally or vertically from their watchtower. And this is done by individual zone on the card. So if I have a meeple here who is in this watchtower and I'm scoring at the end of the game, he's going to get 1, 2 points. However, he will not score for this particular forest because this watchtower is blocking his line of sight and he can't see it. So that's only 2 points. If I place the meeple here, he could see 1, 2 forest zones this direction, and then he could see another here for a total of 3 points. If the meeple were placed here, he would be able to see these 2 forests and these 2 forests for a total of 4 points. Whereas if I placed the meeple here, he would only see 1 forest because this is the only one that's not blocked by another watchtower. To play a complete game of Limes, you lay out cards one at a time and either move or place a meeple once per turn. You will end up with a 4x4 grid of cards that you will then score at the end of the game. So let's see what happens. Here's our deck. Let's just pull off cards and see what happens. So here's our first card. I'm just going to set it like this. You can choose your orientation at the moment that you put the card down, but once it's set and it does not change. So this card is this way for the rest of the game. Let's say that I want to make sure that I have a little bit of water, so I will put a meeple right here and say that for now at least he's a fisherman. I may choose to move him at another point in time. That was turn 1. For turn 2, I simply draw another card and decide where to place it. So, one thing I definitely want to do is connect the water. So I'm going to go ahead and put this one right here so that I can keep an eye on possible scoring fishermen's huts for this fisherman meeple. I can also choose to place another meeple. I'm just gonna go ahead and put one right here because right now this forest looks like it could score a little bit. So we're just gonna go with that for now. I can move him later if I choose. Let's draw another card for turn 3. Okay, so now we have some fields and some more watchtowers. This is a lot of watchtowers. I'm a little concerned actually about how many of them are gonna get piled up together because it's gonna make it harder to score from them. But let's think about where to put this. I think I wanna go ahead and lay it here so that I can score yet another point off of my woodcutter meeple, at least for now. And then to place another meeple, I'm gonna go ahead and put one here on this field in hopes of getting more fields for him to be in charge of. Let's see what happens on turn 4. Excellent, okay, we got another field, but we also have another water space. I don't really like how that's set up though, so we're gonna go with the field. So let's put this one here so that our farmer meeple is able to have a slightly larger territory to work with. And then on turn 5, well, let's decide, do we want to put down another meeple right now? I don't really see a place that I want someone, so I'm just gonna let it hang. So for turn 5, let's draw another card. This is promising. I'm gonna go ahead and put this one right here. So basically I know now at this point that my 4x4 is gonna be 4 this way. It's gonna go down this far and it can still build out in either direction, but you need to end up with a 4x4 grid. And also notice that you can only place tiles orthogonally adjacent. So I can't place a tile diagonal like this. It has to be next to a tile that I've already placed, either to the left and right or up and down. Let's see, do I want to place any more meeples? Why don't we go ahead and put one just on a watchtower to see if we get anything good. So basically this is how play will proceed until you have a grid basically of 4 cards by 4 cards. The other option that I have is I can place a meeple, or if I feel like moving him instead of placing a new one, I can just move a meeple somewhere else. So those are my options for play. So let's see what the game is going to look like at the end. So here's the complete layout for my sample game of Limes. I just laid out one card at a time and either place or move a meeple on each turn. So I did the best that I could to maximize my score. There are people who are a lot better at this than me, but I feel like this is a fairly respectable game. So let's score it. The easiest way to keep track of meeples that you've scored is to lay them down, so that way you can see what you've counted and what you haven't. So let's start with the easy one. Here's a farmland. So this farmer is going to score 1, 2, 3, 4 points for his farm. Next, why don't we handle the meeple that's on the water, this fisherman. So he's going to score for every fisherman's hut that is touching water that he's on. So that means he's going to score 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points. Again, these two are on the water, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this meeple was worth 6 points. Next, let's try and take care of this woodcutter meeple who's on a forest. He scores 1 point for every territory that is orthogonally adjacent to his. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 different territories. Each watchtower counts as its own. So he is worth 4 points. And as you can see, I really enjoyed trying to score off of watchtower meeples. So let's see how I did this time. Don't forget, these guys can score off of every woodland that they can see without being blocked by another tower. So this guy can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bits of forest. He cannot see this one because his point of view is blocked. So he can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's have a look at this watchtower dude. So he can see 1, 2, 3, 4 on the horizontal, and he can see 1 on the vertical. He can't see past this watchtower, so he also totals out at 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This watchtower dude will be similar, so he doesn't have huge range in most directions, but check it out. He has 1, 2, 3, 4 right next to him, and then 5 a little bit further down. In other words, on the vertical, it's 1, 2, 3. On the horizontal line, it's 4, 5. And here's our last meeple. He's another watchtower guy, and he can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the horizontal, and he can see none on the vertical because this watchtower blocks him. So he also will score me a total of 5 points. So sadly, my total was just okay. There's actually a little score tracker. So as you can see, at less than 28, you are capable of improvement. At 28 to 34, and we were at 34, points are okay. If I'd gotten over 35 or higher, points would be good. And at 42 to 48, points would be very good. And if you can get 49 or more, your points are excellent. So part of this is being strategically smart. Part of this is just getting the right cards at the right time, because once you've placed them, you can't move them. But I really enjoy trying to beat my own score with this game. I think probably my highest score so far has been a 45. And it's just different every time. One of the things I particularly appreciate about Limes actually is that it plays so quickly that even if things don't go quite your way right when you want them to, you are still able to just set up and try again and try to beat that score right away. So you don't like sink several hours into trying to get a great score only to find that it didn't work out. You can just play for a few minutes, have a complete game, score it, and be ready to try again. So I find myself playing this game a lot of times in a row just because I enjoy it so much. And I hope that you can give it a try as well. Happy gaming.